like you do when you count down to New Year's.
It's already live.
Hola.
So
I just got a
Welcome in.
tonight,
notification.
And this is Mother Supreme's Cabinet of Curiosities. Tonight's live event will be the continuation of our Hotel Unanswered Questions, but it's a bit different tonight. Lady Diana, who was rescued from the Hotel Chelsea, unfortunately last week, and I think the week before, right? She was not
yes.
Yep.
here. She was gruesomely butchered in the Hotel Chelsea. But thankfully, our Mother Supreme, Mary, rescued her soul from the hotel. So she will be sharing her notes tonight as the good cop, and I'll be coming in guns and blazing like Liz and Iris, wink wink, as the bad cop. Let's
Yeah.
introduce the panel, shall we? I'm your hostess with the mostest, Dr. Frost. All right, we've got the wonderful IrishMeli,
Hi, everybody.
the sneaky, freaky, and kinky Kitty, which I guess she will be coming back. The dark magic Mike,
So,
and the Lady Di of House Targaryen. So last week's stream was hashtag what the fuck moments of AHS. What was it, seasons 1 through 4? Do we have any comments we need to address? Or
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that at the end, Kenny.
we're gonna do that at the end.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
All right. We will begin with Lady Di's notes. I'll chime in after. You are now entering room 64. Enjoy your stay and don't stay in the sheets. Let's begin.
So, this is episode 7, and it's called Flicker. It was directed by Michael Goh and written by Crystal Liu. Instead of just taking the whole episode, I thought it would be helpful to just take each storyline and break it down, since it gets, tossed around in the actual episode.
Mhm.
The reason that this probably is my favorite episode in all of the hotel series is it gives so many nods to like old time Hollywood. And even though I am from Bensonhurst, where Lady Gaga's character, where the Countess is from, I grew up in Los Angeles in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. I spent a lot of time in Hollywood, and I got to see some of these beautiful old school haunts before they knocked them down. And I kind of felt like I was reliving a little bit of my past when they were showing all that stuff, even though I wasn't alive in the 20s. So, anyway, let's get started. The most important story, well, one of the most important stories to me is we get to find out the backstory of the Countess. So Will Drake is making renovations on the hotel, and they discover this big, large door, and it's not on the plans anywhere. And we all know that all the corridors and everything exist. And he tells them to open it up. And when they break through, these two creatures come through, and we don't know who they are at this point, and they jump on the workers and they eat them. So as they're wandering the hotel looking for things to eat, this is where we see, I think, our first bit of a crossover. The realtor from Murder House, Marcy, is in the
She
hotel
was in
chilling
episode
out for the
1
weekend.
too.
Was she in episode 1? Okay. But
Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Hey BRT, everybody say hey to BRT.
Hey, what's up, LT?
Hey!
Hey,
So
Ryan.
Marcy's at the hotel. She's talking to somebody that she needs some time alone because she was upset because she had to put her dog, Hallie, down, Vivian Harmon's dog. And then the two immortals that are behind the door eat her too. Then all of a sudden we see a flash, and it's 1925, and it's a Hollywood silent movie set. And they're making The Son of Chic with Rudolph Valentino. And then we see Valentino's face and we say, oh my God, no wonder she's in love with Kristen and all these other men, because Kristen is Valentino's exact doppelganger, and Donovan and even Drake kind of resemble him. Elizabeth, which is the Countess's mortal name, is an extra on the movie, and she catches his eye, and he slips her a note to meet him at the Garden of Allah for dinner, because she thinks he's getting a divorce from his current wife, Natasha. Now, this is also interesting because the Garden of Allah existed, and it was known as a hedonistic apartment slash residence where the stars back in the 1920s would go for trysts, kinky stuff. It was just a hedonism all around. And she goes and meets him for dinner that night. So he starts to speak to her in Italian. She answers him in English. She understands everything he's saying, and he's so surprised because she is from Bensonhurst, which is where I am from, where there's a huge Italian immigrant. All the immigrants went to Brooklyn, and especially Bensonhurst. So he really did his backstory to make sure that everything works. And she tells him that she thinks that he's going to be immortal and that the flickers are the next big thing because you can be up on the screen forever. Then they dance a beautifully choreographed tango because in 1925, everybody knew exactly how to dance the exact same moves together. Yes, this might be a little bit much, but I personally enjoyed it. And then Natasha comes in and they all dance together and they have a threesome and then they are together. Then you see the opening of the Hotel Cortez and Mr. March. He is toasting to the opening of his hotel, although he can't drink in the Blue Parrot room because prohibition hasn't yet been reformed. He sees Elizabeth, the Countess, is struck by her beauty just as somebody comes in and announces that Valentino died. She freaks out, which this happened. My grandmother was actually like 13 when Valentino died. Women did throw themselves out the window when he passed away.
Are you kidding me?
No, it was if you look it up, I mean,
Yeah.
Brian definitely did his homework. He was a big, big deal back then. And my grandmother was 13 and she saw her mother freak out. And every Italian woman and every woman in the world just went nuts. So he grabs onto her and she looks into the alley. And I'm going to tell you, it looks to me like the exact same alley that freaking Sally goes to with the blue dumpster and the same trash. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh,
but
nice.
it looks exactly the same to me.
I didn't catch that. I did not catch that.
Well, it's very small, but I definitely saw it. So then we see her at his mausoleum in Hollywood, and these ladies are talking about this woman dressed in black who brings him a single red rose. Now, this was also an urban legend that people talked about. It was in all the papers at the time. And they leave, and it's her. And then she finds out that he's not really dead. He walks out. She freaks.
No, the
And
lady in
Natasha-
black was just Mallory blasting through time and space.
Well, no, the lady in black was the Countess. She's in black
know.
putting the red rose. And that's when Natasha confronts her and tells her he's not dead. He walks up. She flips out. They have a reunion. But unfortunately, March is in the background trailing her and sees what's going on.
Naughty, naughty.
Does somebody call
so
Kitty
then,
in? Call Kitty in.
Is she there?
Yeah.
Hashtag the invite should still be valid. Hashtag fuck you, Kitty.
It doesn't always work though.
So she's like
Go on,
freaking
then.
out and she wants to know what happened. So he tells her that while he was doing his promotion for the movie The Son of the Sheik, he met this guy, F.W. Murnau, who is the man who directed the Nosferatu movie.
Yeah.
That was the first big major horror movie, right? Hi, kitty, kitty.
Which lady
And
let me mention, because I know we mentioned it when I did the first three, but for anybody who didn't catch it, that's also the movie that was playing at the drive-in I believe it was the first episode when Elizabeth and Donovan.
Yes, and I know
Nosferatu.
that when just a side note, when you guys were talking about that, Kenny, you were wondering how the Countess and Donovan would be dressed like steampunk people and go see a movie in the middle of a cemetery. Guess what? That's what they have in Hollywood to this day. I've been many times. And there's people
Wow.
dressed like all kinds of freaky, weird. It's Hollywood. You can do whatever you want. So that definitely does exist. And definitely a nod to that.
Well, minus the eating them.
Well, yes.
Right.
But I mean,
Well, I'm sure they
that
eat them, but not in the way. Anyways.
everything that Ryan is showing has existed at one time or another, which I love. It gives it more validity to the story. It makes it more believable, and you kind of can get lost in it a little bit more because it is more believable. me. She explains to them that when she was so upset, she married March and what happened. And then you see her flashing and how she developed her relationship with March. She saw him sawing somebody in half. He calls him a hobo. And she's like, look, I don't want you to kill hobos. I want you to kill people who have money or jewelry, and I want to watch. So it's all about the darkness for her. But all that's over because she has been reunited with her beloved Valentino and Natasha, and they're going to turn her into an immortal. You know, they never say the word vampire, do they, guys?
I don't think so.
They always just call them immortals. They never say vampire. I tried to find it.
That's kind of
But
like
that's
with The
what
Walking Dead. Like, bitch,
it's
they're
what they refer
zombies.
to them as.
They don't say
Right.
zombies, they say walkers.
Right. So they turn her
That's so
into an
stupid.
immortal. And but unfortunately, we find out later that after they turn her, which we don't see, he finds them
We should have saw her get
and
turned.
he seals them in the room in the Hotel Cortez that they discovered in the beginning of the movie. Then we see Miss Evers. We gotta love Miss Evers. Her story is so underrated. She's putting together this beautiful table, and she is getting very upset because the dinner guest that she's preparing for Mr. March is late, and she thinks it's very disrespectful. You can tell kind of then that she's in love with him, March, because she's kind of like, you can just tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's such a great Mayor Winningham is so awesome.
Right.
You can just tell.
That's why I
that he's
hated
waiting for
her
her.
role in Coven, because we liked her so much.
No, I
Yeah.
hated
I know,
her
right?
fucking rolling cold. It was just so random.
Well, she
Yeah,
to
it's
me
just
in
walk
this
on
one
and call.
just totally stands out, and she that's when we find out that the Countess has made an arrangement with March to meet him once a month for dinner to kind of keep him at bay, which is important because he makes arrangements with other people who are in the hotel, like Sally, to help protect and leave her alone or to do anything she wants to do. So then Natasha and Valentino eat a whole bunch of other people, beautiful people in the hotel. And you see them walking out as I believe the Sisters of Mercy are playing. The music in this whole season to me is just, I love it. From the Blue Monday to all the 90s to it just totally fits that dark kind of brooding thing going on. You know, that's like a whole nother level. So meanwhile, we have Mr. John Lowe. Now, I have a question because I missed some of our discussions. The men in this series, especially, oh my God. But are you guys like into Lowe? Because I personally think he's kind of weird looking. I just don't think he fits what it's supposed to be, or maybe
You mean his character or the actor?
Just his character I like. It just I don't know. There's something about him that I'm not really believing. Maybe it's just me.
I think it's fine.
But it's just a little something. So he checks himself into a mental hospital that happens to be not a private one, but a public one where the only suspect for the 10 Commandment murders is also being held. He breaks into the room, kills a guard, and finds like a 12-year-old girl with blonde hair and braids and introduces himself to her as Wren. And we already know she's one of the Countess's little blonde children that she drinks from. He tells her not to be afraid, and then she starts to tell him it's her fault that he's in trouble. And he can't tell, you can tell she's holding back because he keeps asking her, where is he? What does he want? What's going on? And she said, no, I can't tell you that. She said it's her fault and she's hungry, but she doesn't want the food they brought her and she doesn't want to feed anymore. She's basically tired of the life, but he has no idea that she's talking about the fact that when she was the age that she is now, she thought her father was going to molest her. And the Countess saved her from a car where she was trying to be killed so that she wouldn't have to grow up, and brought her into the room with all the other children so he could eat her. But she's kind of been done with that. He keeps asking her who the killer is. And at this point, don't we already know that? I'm yelling at the TV. It's you.
No,
we
I don't think so.
don't know that.
No, we don't know it till the next episode.
But at that
9,
point,
I
we
think.
do know it, though.
I mean, I personally kind of got it just because of the way
Right.
Ren was like talking around him and things. So she tells him, look, I'm going to tell you, let's go home to the Hotel Cortez. And he's like, what? And I'm going to tell you what's going on. She runs out to the street. She gets hit by a car. And end of episode 7, excuse me, which goes right into episode 8, which is our 10 Commandments killer. And that one is written by Ryan Murphy and directed by Lonnie Presti. I don't know if I'm saying it the right way. Before we go on, is there anything you guys want to interject that I missed?
Pretty thorough to me.
No, yeah.
So this is a very pivotal episode. I mean, when we assigned
Go get your daddy.
episodes, I just got 7, 8, and 9, and there's 12 episodes. So these are all kind of where all these revelations
Wait, pause.
happened from the build-up. And it
Okay,
was just coincidence.
Wait, so was Ren really there when he was doing all those killings, or was she just like fucking with his mind or something? Because I didn't.
Well, we'll wait till the 10 Commandments, Kenny. That's kind of where that comes in.
Okay,
because
that's
we know
this
the whole
episode.
story. So even when she runs out to the street, you don't really see her get hit until episode 10 starts. So John runs to help her, and then he sees her. He flashes in his mind. He sees her laying in one of those glass coffins that's in the pool in the Hotel Cortez. And then he goes into the hotel and he confronts Liz Taylor and he starts yelling at her, what's going on? Where is this killer? And she basically tells him to fuck off and leave him alone. And he has a gun and he's going to use it. Sally steps in and says, John, I'm going to tell you what's going on. He's just adamant. What is going on? Why don't I, and she said, let me take you to room 64.
Yeah.
And I will tell you what's going on. There's all the answers are there. She tries to get him not to figure it out because she doesn't want him to know because she wants to keep him there with her. And so she tells him to slide back the armoire that's in room 64, which was James Patrick March's office at the time he lived in the Hotel Cortez. So you slide back the armoire and you see this whole nother room. And then she tells him that he died February at 2:25 a.m., which is when the music starts on the clock radio, which we've seen happen in many other horror movies before. When someone dies and the clock hits, right? The music comes on, whether it's Christine with the car, or I'm sure lots of other ones that you guys know. That's kind of a thing that they do. He then discovers I'm going to call it the 10 Commandments trophy room. And he looks at her and he's like, what the hell is going on? And he looks and he said he knows what these murders are and he has been investigating them. And the first 2 happened in the 20s, like 90 years ago. There's not the same serial killer could be alive now doing it. It's got to be someone else copycatting what happened back for the first 2 murders. So then there's a little flash to Devil's Night, and you see March telling him, oh, you're such a police officer. You only want to see what you know. You only believe in evidence. You can't think of anything that's going to be beyond what you see in front of you. You know, you need a little more imagination. And then she looks at him and says, John, you're the killer. It was you all along. And most of us at this point are kind of like, okay, I get it. And then for some people it was a huge reveal. I love how everything happens. After all of that, and again, we're just following his storyline. He goes back through to the clinic where his partner is, where they brought Ren's body. And he keeps flashing back to all the murders and he's confessing to his partner. And that I didn't put his name down, the tall gentleman. And he's like, how could you be the killer? You only stepped into the Hotel Cortez 3 months ago. And he said, no, I've been going to the Hotel Cortez for the last 5 years. Da, 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 da. He remembers now he had just got done working a really bad case where a whole family had died and he needed to have a drink. So he walked into the Hotel Cortez and he went up to Liz Taylor in the Blue Parrot and she made him a martini. Then he looks over to the side. He sees Sally sitting on a bar stool. But Donovan interjects and comes in and says, hey, do you want to party? And he's like, no, dude, I'm married. He's like, it's not that kind of party. If you really want to drink yourself blind and you're that upset, let me take you to the party that's going on upstairs. So we really find out it's Donovan who spotted him and brought him up to meet March, who is having his monthly dinner with the Countess. And at first, March gets very upset because he wants to know what's going on. But he looks up and he sees John. And then Donovan tells him, this guy's had the kind of day where he could drink himself to death. And March loves the anguish and the horror and all the bad things. He was having a conversation with the Countess, and she's like, all you want to know about is the killing. All you want to know about is the sorrow and the horrible things. So, sorry, give me 1 second. So Donovan brings him up and he interrupts them, and March is intrigued by his darkness and then dismisses the Countess and Donovan and says, go. And then the Countess looks up at John and calls him yummy. And she would be the Count. And one of my favorite lines is he's like, I'm the Countess. And he says, of what? And she said, honey, with those blue eyes, I'll be the Countess of whatever you want. And then they leave and they leave March with John. And this is just such a huge thing because this is when they meet for the very first time and we find out what it is. March tells him that most people have an aura about them, which there just coincidentally happened to be someone who stayed at the hotel who was named, hold on, I'll find it. Simon Curlin, who discovered in 1939 a way to tell someone's aura by photography and light, and that most people are blue or green, and if they're really mystical, they're purple. But when John walked in, he saw nothing but pitch black, which to him is a sign that he is pure someone evil. Who is okay with pure evil, which he's okay with doing bad as long as he thinks he's doing good. So who justifies what he does and will turn a blind eye to really what other people think about it. So at that point, he asks him, where's the alcohol, bud? Or before that. But this is also very key because he gives him absinthe, which is a hallucinogenic.
Yep.
And at this point, it makes you question everything that's going on because March is feeding him absinthe all the time. And Lady Gaga even goes back, the Countess, to maybe retrieve John. And she's like, I can't take him now. You've poisoned him. She doesn't want anyone that has substances in their body, especially absinthe. And that is when he says, this is the person I have been looking for. And he has a beautiful family. And he shows her pictures of Holden. And he just needs a little something crazy to happen to kind of push him over the edge so that March can take him and make him into what he wants to be. He is kind of set on him being that person. So then she abducts Holden, which is the another push, and where John really starts to spiral out of control. He starts to question the justice system when one of the people that he knows is guilty goes free with his partner, and his partner said it was a mistrial, and he's getting very revved up at the fact that justice doesn't really happen to the people who need it, that too many people get through loopholes. And this is important because you have to know the mindset he's in. He thinks he's doing good. He thinks everything he's doing is justified. Right? So March then shows him pictures of this gentleman who checked into the hotel, and he has pictures of little kids. basically is trying to tell him the guy's a pedophile and is pushing him to go do the first one of his killings. And he also is the person who has the Oscar for sale. So John goes and confronts him, shows him the pictures, and then he sees the false god, the Oscar that he's trying to sell, and he bludgeons him to death. And so all this is going on, and you see he goes back to the hotel and he's all freaked out and he tries to kill himself. March cuts him down. Sally is watching him die because Sally wants him to die, so he'll stay at the hotel. And he said, "You can't do this, Sally. You and I have an arrangement." And I had to watch this over and over again because you see this stupid addiction demon. And I'm like, where the hell did it come from?
They're nice.
Apparently, the addiction demon came from Sally and all the people that she was with in the hotel in the 90s doing lots of heroin. And it was conjured up. And March will feed it other people. You know how you see the different people who it attacks? If Sally does what March tells her to do. And she needs John to finish what he started. And she thinks he's going to get out there and be killed. And how can that possibly happen? She'll lose him forever. So he said, you need to find someone who can move in his world. Someone who will go and protect him, which we later find out is, of course, our little Wren. Okay, so then Sally kind of also helps him. They're watching an evangelist on television, and she's saying how crazy he is. And then he just continues to do these murders. All this time, he's telling this to his partner, who is looking at him with disbelief. And he's like, this couldn't happen. And he said, yes, it has. And I've been talking to your wife about it. She and I had coffee. And that just does something to his brain. And bam, the next thing you know is thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife. He cuts off his penis and brings it back to the Hotel Cortez.
Yes.
So that was my question. Like, did he actually cut that off, or?
Well, it just showed the bag, but that he said he got the best part of him. But what I loved about this scene was he walks up to the desk and he sees Iris. And he says, I need to check in. And she's like, and she does like the same thing they've been doing. And he looks at her and he smiles and she's like, Iris, I know who I am. And she's just like, thank Jesus. I cannot keep pretending I don't know who you are anymore. I never know who's going to show up. I never know what's going to go on. And he explains to her that he knows who it is, and he's got the guy's dick in his bag, and he's going to go back up and put it into the trophy room. That is that episode. Did I miss anything, you guys? Thoughts? I'm going to deck for some water.
It's the stupidest, most convoluted way to explain. Ryan wrote way too much around this show. It's like, just keep it simple.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah, it was way too over convoluted. Several times the first time around to figure out what the hell was going on.
I had to watch it like 4 times at least, maybe.
Right?
Yeah, it's unnecessarily overcomplicated.
But it does explain a lot, and I know he tried to put a lot into it, and you were kind of like, okay, I thought it was him already, but you see it, so it was kind of a really important episode in that fact. And then I know,
but the whole thing with Sally feeding her make-believe demon, and she has to have him around, and then they have to pick somebody that could do the killings, but then he has to be watched, so let's use one of the little vampire kids. I mean, what's all of that necessary? It's like, why can't March just pick somebody to do the killings, period? End of story.
Well, I guess in order to motivate him, he needs help along the way, and they don't want him to get caught, and all these little details are what he's trying to explain.
And just overcomplicate it.
What do you got?
Michael has decided to plead the fifth.
What do you think, Kitty? What do you think, Melly? Do you like this episode?
I do. Flicker's actually my favorite episode, like out of most
mine
of
too.
Hotel. But yeah, I did like that episode.
I think there's a lot going on and a lot more than necessary. So I'm with Mike.
Thank you.
She's back.
No, I mean,
I
it
liked the
was,
episode, but I do agree with you guys. There was so much going on.
there was. I mean, it took me, I had to watch it. It took me a couple hours to break it down, quite honestly, this particular one. But the more you think about it, and then the flashes to Devil's Night, I mean, he's just trying to tie up a lot. You know, maybe he should have went to 13 episodes. Maybe he didn't need to do 12. Maybe he needed 13. I'm sure FX would have given him one more season, one more episode, excuse me. So my last episode is episode 9, which is She Wants Revenge. Now, in this episode, I know that theoretically you're going to think it's one person, but I personally think that the Countess wants revenge, Iris wants revenge, Ramona wants revenge, even Miss Evers wants revenge in this episode.
Liz.
Liz, definitely.
Everybody, Liz, thank you very much.
All the damn women.
Everybody. She means every female in this episode. So the Countess is staring into, I'm just going to call it the prison cell that was behind that big steel door that the workers, they broke into and found the two creatures who we realized later on were Valentino and Natasha. And she's saying that the last 100 years of her life were a lie, that people didn't tell her the truth. She found out that March had been keeping them the whole time behind her, like right alongside of her, and that she's going to start over again and she will not be ruled. So she plans to use that chamber to trap her enemies. And March actually steps in to help her with the construction workers figure out how to do it. And then she looks over at him and she slaps him. And he says, "Are you still upset about the Dago?" Now, I didn't want to say any other things. The other thing that I find interesting, and you see it in other episodes, is March says so many un-PC things when he is speaking. I say Dago because I am one, but this is not the only one, and I've kind of left out all the others so as not to offend anyone. But Ryan doesn't care. He knows in the 30s this is what people spoke about, and that's just how it was. She said, you know,
do I even want to know what those words mean? Or
no,
it's just Dago is a slang for an Italian person about a word. And there's a lot of other ones in there, Kenny, that this one was very, to me, not such a big deal, so we won't get into. But just the way that he's just such a 1925 person, white guy who is not, you know, he's not, he calls Cheyenne, he calls Will Drake light in the loafers, you know, just different little things, because men, especially white men back in those days, just that they weren't enlightened. They didn't have any knowledge and they were kind of bigoted. And he does put that into his character. At this point, Miss Evers, part of that story is Evers looks at March and says that she loves him and she would do anything for him. And March looks at her and says, and I'm gagging when he's telling her this, that his father told him to marry a homely woman because it would be less trouble. But he personally disagreed.
How nice.
Yeah, and he counts on Miss Evers, of course, to do all the crappy, dirty work that men used to do back then, believed women should do for them, scrubbing blood and bile, and what would he do without her? But the Countess is a creature of beauty, and it's not her fault that she's homely.
Shit.
And you're going, what?
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
definitely die.
But
because if he wanted a devoted, dedicated woman, yes, the Countess was classy and pretty and all of that. But if you wanted a devoted, you know, completely loyal woman, Evers was the way to go for him.
Well, I think it speaks to the way that men were in 1925, 1929, 1930. That's how they were.
You know, I mean, in a way, it's the way it kind of still is, and not just men, women too. A lot of times people are very vain with what they look for, and they always go with looks over inside beauty, and then they end up regretting it because they'll find someone who's not as beautiful, but is an amazing, great person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think though back then Ryan's trying to capture that era, and back then it was
Yeah,
actually okay to say stuff like that, which is kind of sad.
yeah,
It
I,
shows,
I, I think you're right.
Well, yeah, of course.
it kind of
It
shows
was okay to say
how
stuff all the way up into the
people
70s.
people were.
Well, remember
So
that's where the term for a men's tank top came from with the wife beaters.
yeah,
Yep.
That was
I mean any of
around
those
that time
things.
too. And it was because that's what all the men wore under their dress shirts, and then they would beat their wives.
And there and it started with the Italian men actually.
Yes.
In New York. uh, so I like it because I mean I don't like that they're showing this, but Ryan is showing everything from that period. He's being true, and this just
He's
is a
being true
testament
to it.
to
Yeah.
Evan Peters' acting on the fact that he from everything from the diction of the person from Cape Cod to him speaking that way and being able to carry it off is really really well done. Doesn't mean we like
Can we,
it, but
can
he
we
did a
just
great job.
say, speaking of Evan Peters playing that role of March, can we just talk about that accent that no one has been like completely clarified on, been able to pin down where exactly it is, but it's like a Boston rum accent?
Right, because he
Mhm.
went to Exeter College, which is a famous college in Massachusetts, I believe,
Wait.
and he
Mhm.
speaks like the
Evan
people
said
who are
it
up
or Mark?
there.
No, March, I believe.
March said that he
Okay.
went to Exeter College and that he copied
Oh.
his professor's diction, and he will admit that he copied it to this day. And Exeter was like, a foof, it's Ivy League, stuck up where they speak in a certain way, and it's all the people who are from, like basically the bougie people in Massachusetts.
Okay.
What is it with this show in Massachusetts?
I
I
don't know.
think
We'll find
I
out.
think we're gonna find
Yeah,
out.
I mean, he
Yeah.
likes Massachusetts and he likes LA. We know that for sure.
Well, LA's cheap. They're right there.
So
So.
the at this point, the Countess is going to marry Will Drake, and she doesn't want to have a big affair. She wants to get married very quickly. He wants to plan this big, elaborate wedding, and she's like, I'm not a show pony. I won't let you show me off. I just want to get married. You design my dress. We'll get married here. And then she goes up to Liz and has the balls to ask her to help plan the wedding. And he looks at her and basically tells her, bitch, I am not going to help you plan your wedding
Right.
because you killed the love of my life. And at that point, she kind of dismisses Liz and said he never loved him and just totally. And I love how Liz doesn't back down. She's like, I'm not going to help you. I don't want to do anything for you. And we all are going, yes, because we want them to be together and we all want them to do that. So Miss Evers also goes to Drake when he's with his son and warns her not to marry the Countess. And he said he's not worried because she has a prenup. And she said, believe me, when I tell you the next time I see you, you're going to be dead. And he kind of dismisses her, learns that she works at the hotel, and basically fires her and tells her to get out of there. Poor Miss Evers, everyone's shitting all over her all the time. And she said, that's okay because the next time I see you, I'm going to clean up the shit that you make when you die. Okay. Way to go, Miss Evers.
There wasn't even a burn though, because like she's gonna clean the shit up.
Well, she's just kind of trying to make a point, and
Yeah.
that's her way of. She kind of takes power from that, I think.
I
Mhm.
liked that scene
You
with
know.
her with Evers for sure.
So the countess finds where Natasha and Valentino are. She has a private eye find it,
We're at
and
7:40, real quick, just so everybody knows.
yep, I'm actually got one page left.
Nice.
So she goes to the hotel. She reunites with Valentino. He and he finds his Bellissima, and she basically gives Natasha her card to go out and do some retail therapy so she can be alone with Valentino. She asks him if she would be okay if Natasha wasn't with them anymore, and he said he would be fine because he would have her to console him. Meanwhile, she reunites with Donovan, and they have this thing. She threw him out, she this, she that. There's some serious hot sex scenes with Lady Gaga wearing some pasties. And she said, I will only love you. We can fuck whoever we want, but I'm getting married on Wednesday. And don't worry, because I'm going to be a widow on Thursday.
Nice.
So the other part of the she wants revenge thing, and I'm just going to go over this because I personally love it, is you see these three people who are obviously coming to the hotel to shoot a porn movie. And they walk up to Iris and they ask her to look under the name Stormcock.
What is it with the hotel and fucking dirty, just fucking...
There's
because
a lot
they
of
don't want
like
to clean it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of hotels like that in LA.
So
that's
I mean,
nice
that's
to
what
know.
happens here. It's
that's
so
nice
what
to
happens
know.
here. So she goes, I don't really mind pornography. I saw Deep Throat just like the rest of the people, but this is not right because it gives people the wrong message that girls think you need to screw like that and boys think it's okay to screw like that. And she's going to become a dirty Harriet because she doesn't want this stuff at her hotel. And she goes up to the room and she kills their butts. So Donovan sees her, walks in, takes the third victim who's not dead yet, basically says, go Iris, and says he's going back to Ramona. So he goes back to Ramona, who supposedly is in league with Iris and Donovan to take down the Countess. So he has to convince her to buy his story, and he does, and asks her where she's been for 20 years. And then we go into this whole thing of Ramona's backstory, how she went back to her parents, and her mother died, and her father has Alzheimer's, and she turns him to try to make him better. And she spent the last 20 years taking care of him.
It's so sad.
And it's very sad. It's a long, drawn out story. I personally think it could have been done a little shorter, but that's why. But he wants to give Angela Bassett her screen time. I totally get that. And show her motivation for why she wants her revenge. And she kind of forgot while she was taking care of her father after she turned him because he couldn't hunt for himself. So she goes with Donovan, and Donovan said, look, we have to do this tonight because she's going to marry Will Drake tomorrow, and it's going to be too late. We have to kill her tonight. So they go together, and Iris is with them, and they walk in, and the Countess is sleeping, and she has a knife, and he said, I can't really do this. And she's like, well, you got to have balls. And she goes to get her, and the Countess's eyes open, and you find out that Donovan and the Countess double-crossed poor Ramona, and they throw Ramona into the prison room into a kind of Iron Maiden thing, for lack of a better word. And Iris gets really upset because he tells Iris they're going to hate watch their enemies, and Iris tells Dono she's never going to have one and only. She's put one over on you. And even Ramona, and this is one of my favorite lines too, looks at him and says, you are so very pretty, but so very stupid if you believe what she's telling you. So after the wedding, they get ready for their honeymoon, and Drake goes to the bar where March comes in, asks to buy the new groom a drink, and talks about children. So he brings him up and introduces him to his child with the Countess, Bartholomew. And he kind of freaks out. The Countess sees him freaking out.
Can you understand why?
Because, yeah, hello. And
that's a face only a mother could love.
And they
literally,
she just says, I can't deal with this because I was going to raise your son and you're going to do this to my son. And he's like, this is a joke. This has to be crazy. It's like all of a sudden, all the shit he thinks is real is coming down on him. So then she knocks him out and throws him into the room with Ramona, where Ramona tricks him into letting her out, and he eats her, eats him. The other part of this whole episode, which I kind of saved it for like the last couple minutes, is the whole story of Alex going to the house where the children are, because on the news all these people are dropping dead, and the countess said, you better clean up your shit, you only get one chance. So she goes to the house and finds all the kids, and she talks them into coming back to the hotel with her, and she tricks them all into going into the prison room, slams the door behind them, and Ramona eats all of them too.
Oh, kid things a
Ooh,
mess.
nice little.
Ta-da! And that's where we end episode 9. What did I miss, guys?
I don't think you really
Not a damn
did.
thing.
No, that was really good. I mean, you covered all of it.
Very
I
thorough.
didn't really find that many things to me that were so crazy, other than a couple of the things that you guys brought up. Kenny, I know you probably had a list, but you didn't interject with anything. What do you? I mean, or the way I think I was trying to explain it as if I was almost justifying them to someone.
Yeah, you
because
kind of explained it, but the stuff on
because
my
I love
list
them.
was kind of just stupid shit, like just stupid shit. Like, did John cut off the partners? You know, just
Well, he
why the
did,
fuck?
because he coveted his wife, so he took his best part, and you see him go between his legs.
I don't know if
Oh,
I
and
ever mentioned this question, but it's just so stupid to me. Like, okay, before Will bought the hotel, like, who owned it?
well,
For Will,
Elizabeth did.
yeah,
Didn't
Elizabeth
Okay,
she?
so
did,
people
but she
don't realize
lost
this
it.
bitch has been alive for like 100-something years.
Well, that's why she has to stay away from cameras, and she doesn't want a big wedding.
Yeah, because you can leave a property in someone's name, I believe, even if they're deceased, right? As long as there's like a co-person.
Yeah,
I'm not,
I
I'm
don't
not
know what
sure.
happened after she lost it to Madoff. Maybe it was in a holding company, and he stepped in
Right.
and purchased it from them.
yeah, the Bernie Madoff
That's
thing
what
happened.
Bernie Madoff took all
Yeah,
of
so
her
the
money.
countess owned the hotel, and she didn't care about the prenup because she was going to be his son's guardian, so she was going to have it anyway. The other thing that I noticed too is at the end of this episode, Natasha's still alive, and we look at the trophy room, and there is only one commandment left that he has not done
Get Lady Gaga
after the covet thy neighbor's wife, and the one that's left is thou shalt not kill.
Bum, bum,
So
bum, bum.
that's
Well,
the
we're
one.
not finishing that commandment, are we?
Not in this episode.
They find a loophole around it.
Because I was wondering, because March only did 2 of them. And then John did all the others, the adulterers that met on Ashley Madison, that he cut out their eyeballs, and the false witness, and the preacher guy. You know, I didn't count every single commandment, but
Wait, so when those children returned, did they still have the measles or whatever?
well, they kept coming back, and they were going to die anyway, and it was just a way to quickly end, I think, the whole storyline, where Alex just
No,
takes
but
them
when
and
they
throws them.
returned, did that, because that one little
Yeah,
boy
that they
had
should
like
have
the
introduced.
measles or something.
Right,
Did
that's
they
why.
all get it?
Well, I think that
No, they got
Madeline had
healed.
them, and that's the little boy.
healed.
The little boy wanted Madeline with him, but that's why Alex saved him, because of the measles. But then he turned all the other little kids, which that part of this
Yeah.
I don't think even needed to be there at all.
Thank
I mean,
you.
did they do all?
Thank you.
Did they need to do all that just to explain the fact that she wanted little purebred children's blood because it was pure? I think you could have explained that by a little conversation.
Okay, so
Or
what was the
one-
relevance
or
of
one
killing off
kid.
Marcy?
Well,
Like, what was the meaning behind that? You know what I mean?
maybe he wanted everyone to know that the dog had been okay up to this point, so he threw her character in there so she could end her story.
Okay, now since we're talking Marcy, let me bring it up. I just want to say it to our audience because I know I told you guys about this. I found the loophole. because I don't remember exactly how it goes right this second, but Marcy talks when her first episode at the beginning, when she talks about coming into this new dog, and she got this dog, blah blah blah, and she talks about a couple, the people tragically dying or whatever. Well, if you do the math, it in 2010 is when John started the 10 Commandments killings for the hotel, and Marcy is at the Harmons with them in 2011. So that's a plot gap, because Marcy shouldn't have had the dog when she was at the hotel, because timeline wise she hadn't gotten that dog yet.
That's true.
So just to throw it out there for everybody so they know. I mean, I know we discussed it, so our audience knows.
And I guess this is what we're going to do next.
Wait,
next week,
I thought the first episode of Hotel was like 2015, right?
Well, but you're flashing back to where John's been coming there for 10 years. And
right, it goes back and forth.
But back and forth, and this is where you get lost sometimes.
But Marcy was killed in present.
She was killed in 2015.
Yeah, so she's only been there in 2015.
Yeah.
Well, no, because Marcy was there when she first brought Drake to the hotel to look at the hotel, and that's when IrishMeli,
right?
That was
2010.
That's 2015. Drake.
He wasn't with Dog. He wasn't with the Counts for 5 years.
Drake is the current storyline. Yeah, Drake is the current storyline. He's the now time.
See, and that's like, I wish I had it pulled up so I could show you guys, but I know.
There's a lot of stuff that happens like that where you have to sit down and almost. The reason I got so detailed is I typed this stuff up.
I'm so lost now.
Yeah, because remember, like, it just think of the other characters involved. Drake buys the hotel. Then one of the first things that Drake does when he buys the hotel is he puts on that fashion show that introduces Tristan, and Tristan to Liz. So Tristan wasn't around for 5 years.
Right.
And all of this happened in the same, like, very, very
No, Liz didn't even get introduced to fucking Tristan. We never saw that scene. We saw the Countess saw Tristan. Yeah. So we never even. But Tristan was introduced in 2015. The only time we saw Liz and Tristan was the first time was when they were in bed. That whole thing came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, so Marcy was killed in 2015.
Okay, so I was wrong. Apologize, guys.
No, but it's so easy to think that, because you get lost in it. That's the only, it's a little convoluted. You have to really sit down
a little,
and it goes
almost
back
like write it. It's like and like even when I was doing it, because watching the show, they flash back, and I decided when I was going to explain it to everyone tonight to not do it like it was in the show, but to actually take each character's timeline and break it down, because that made a little more sense to me.
Can I have some flair?
Let Mom finish.
But
hotel, because if you think about how Ryan makes each one of these seasons, is he picks like a style that he's going for, like, Roanoke is the reality show thing, and it goes with that style through the whole thing. And Hotel is about grandiosity and about just overindulgence. And so maybe he made these really, really complicated plot points to go with that kind of overindulgence feel.
And like he picked like the 20s and the 30s, and how could he explain an immortal? And I mean, he did go into a lot of detail. The problem is when you go into so much detail, you lose a lot of people.
Right. And especially
they're not
sure. When it's back and forth, it makes it harder to follow.
There's no way that I understood all of this the first time I watched it. There's no way. That doesn't mean I didn't still love it, because I love the period. I love the old school stuff. It's got a very 90s feel about it with the music, and I enjoyed the characters. To me, it shouldn't be fun because it was so dark. It was just a little escape for me, and I just had a really good time watching them because they were all done.
It does have some of the best characters in this series.
What were the comments from last week before we wrap up?
Okay. Well, I was going to do that in the wrap up.
So I think we're good. Let's go.
Yeah, because the rest of my notes now are have to do with Apocalypse and stuff.
Okay, and we'll save that for next week.
Yeah.
Right. And we got 5 minutes left. So
perfect. Well,
sweet.
Well, everyone. We have now gone over episodes 7, 8, and 9 of AHS Hotel. We hope you were all informed and entertained for this episode of our show, going over episodes 7, 8, and 9. And just real quick, I know I mentioned it to the cabinet, but I want to mention it to our audience, a little tidbit for our audience. When Nick Pryor goes to the Hotel Cortez and meets the Countess to become our one and only Liz Taylor, is pretty much one of the biggest or only things, or should be the only thing that matters
1984.
in 1984. So just so everyone gets that, that's when we got officially our Liz Taylor, was 1984.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us this week, including Dawn and BRT, who I know were in the comments. Thank you guys for being here.
Yay.
Can't wait to see you guys next time, and everyone else too. So come and join us next week. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you guys are notified every time we upload a new video or go live. And comment below this video and tell us this question for you guys. Who is your favorite character from the Hotel Cortez? And then next week we'll be talking, and just next Thursday we'll be discussing Hotel Part 4 and how the apocalypse ruined the whole timeline. We're gonna try to get Mary to come on with us to discuss post-apocalypse stuff with Hotel. And then as for the comments, we had comments from last week. Our question was, what's your most horrific WTF American Horror Story moment throughout Murder House, Asylum, Coven, and Freak Show? One of our top commenters was Can't Shake You Mel. Thank you so much, Mel. We love hearing from you guys, so always comment, because you never know when we'll be reading
Two
off
Mel's
your
are better than
comments.
one.
Damn straight. But Mel said, unmentioned WTF moments from Asylum. Alma being alive when Kit got back to the farmhouse.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
This one's a little long, so it's going to take me a second. A killer Santa Claus attempting to rape Sister Jude, and she said that happened, right? Yes, that did almost happen. You're right. And then he caned her instead. Mary Eunice falling to her death. Sister Jude being pronounced dead, but really she was alive. And that's when they changed her name and hid her in the asylum. Lana having Bloody Face's baby and then killing her son in the end. Grace being pregnant, like overnight, and then having a baby overnight. Lana's forced sexual conversion therapy. Hearing I know everything, I'm the devil, basically the whole season. And then her moments, WTF moments from Coven. Surprise, bitch, I thought you'd seen the last of me. When Queenie threw up the silver bullet and lived. Yeah. When Joan killed Luke's father, and Joan was the Bible thumping mother.
Yeah.
So when she killed Luke's father, I forgot about that one.
Oh yeah, with the bees.
Yeah.
He found out the truth.
That's a bad way to go.
The enema scene with Luke.
Oh God,
that was a big WTF.
He was cleansing him, remember?
Yeah.
When everyone in the cabin killing the axe man with pyrokinesis. Zoe being impaled on the gate by teleportation.
Oh yeah, that was good. We said those.
Kyle,
we said the deaths.
That one, yeah. Kyle killing Madison and Spalding dressing up Madison, and then the Supreme's reveal at the end when we found out it was Cordelia. And then she said from Freak Show, Maggie Esmeralda being actually sawed in half. I know we mentioned that one, but that was her first one. But yeah, that one was really horrific. Edward Mordrake stabbing Elsa Mars to take her to the afterlife at the end. Pepper being framed and her meeting Mary Eunice. the magician blaming the puppet on his murders. So that was when Chester blamed Marjorie for all of his murders that he had done. He blamed them on her because that was all in his head. He thought she was real. So,
Marjorie.
but that pretty much sums up. Yeah, that sums up Mel's comments from last week. And then I know
Thanks,
also,
Mel.
yes, thank you so much, because you did mention quite a few that we forgot, and I greatly appreciate that. And then as for the week prior with Debbie's comment that we couldn't find last week to pull up. Let's see. Debbie said when she roasted Kenny.
Wait, what?
She said Kenny at around 10 minutes, Kenny asking questions. Should have been paying attention to the beginning of Kitty's story, Kenny, instead of laughing over it, and you would have known the answer.
It is not my fault, Debbie Abby. It is Kitty's for making me laugh.
Hashtag
But I love you, Kenny.
roasted him. But that's pretty much
Hashtag fuck
it
you,
for
Kitty,
me.
for making me laugh.
That's
But I
it for
love you.
So
It made me laugh. I almost peed my pants on live.
yeah. So everybody go ahead, say your goodbye, say good night, and we
wait,
will
one
see
more
everyone
announcement.
Bye,
next week.
y'all.
Mel, wait, one more announcement.
Yes.
Kenny, did you want to announce what's happening on Mondays now?
Yes. Thank you.
Game of Game of Thrones. We will be covering
Stop.
the series. However, for the next 3 weeks, we will be covering the last 3 episodes. After that, we're all going to get together and cover seasons 1 through 8. So it will be a limited situation, seeing as, you know.
And just so everyone knows,
On Mondays.
Mary's very
7
excited about our GOT coverage, and we will probably have a lot of Mary involved with our GOT coverage because she is psyched about it.
Yep.
And then
Thank you for the 100 and
some
some odd people who tuned into me and Diana's late night.
Our little rant.
We were fucking quaking. Like, I didn't even, there's no word to describe how like happy I was.
It was very spontaneous, and I had so much energy I got to release it.
Right. I know I got to get a lot out of my chest. That's why we got to cover seasons 1 through fucking hashtag fuck you, Cersei. Let's go. Mondays, 7 p.m.
Hashtag no spoilers. Remember, I'm at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
That's why we're doing it on Monday, because different people watch it at different times on Sunday because of all the time zones.
Unfortunately, Melinda and Kinky Kitty will be joining us
after 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks. But don't watch it, Melinda, because we will be saying spoilers and we'll ruin it all.
Oh yeah, because all my
Mary said she wants to be on for next Mondays. So she said she should definitely be there. So we will see, unless something comes up. Mary should join us next Monday for Game of Thrones discussion at 7 p.m. Central.
Well, this coming Monday is just me and Kenny. So hopefully Mary will join us.
Yes, I have my husband Preem's birthday.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to everyone. Have a great night. We look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. Everyone say goodbye.
Hope you enjoyed your stay.
Bye. Bye.
Peace.
Wow.